With the Republican National Committee to address the possible shutdown and some other key issues. Take a look.
Cassie Smedley, the National Press Secretary for the Republican National Committee, sat down with One American News to discuss the latest on President Trump's chief of staff and the potential government shutdown. We've heard a lot of talk about the chief of staff currently sitting at the White House. So how does the RNC evaluate General Kelly's role as chief of staff?
I think General Kelly has been a great chief of staff for this time in President Trump's presidency, and I think they both understand that. And what I like about President Trump, and frankly the people he hires, is that he says we're going to come and we're going to do the best work we can do for the time that this makes sense, and then folks are going to move on when it makes sense for them as well. And so that's what you're seeing. This is, I think, normal for a White House, but then a White House that works at the pace that President Trump keeps. Now you're seeing folks that come in. General Kelly was instrumental in helping with the organization and really getting the priorities together. And then now we're going to move on to a chief of staff who's probably going to help the president through his 2020 reelect and now navigating these new uncharted waters with not having a majority in the House.
And in response to the president's initial pick, the vice president's chief of staff, Nick Ayers, Smedley believes Ayers will still be beneficial to the president's agenda despite leaving the White House at the end of the year.
The president's a businessman. He knows how to do job interviews. He knows how to get the people in the roles that match what he needs in that position right now. That's pretty unique for the White House and certainly for the commander-in-chief. So I think as he's going through these conversations, it's a mutual discussion of what works for you, what works for me, and what works for this administration. And I imagine those are the conversations they were having with Nick Ayers. I think he's going to be very helpful with the campaign. Certainly the president gave him a very kind tweet, which is the ultimate sign of admiration.
Absolutely.
And so I think that we're going to see him and much more of him in the future.
And so when we talk about the president hiring individuals to do a specific job during a specific time, what do we expect the president to look for in his next chief of staff?
Someone who can also help to keep the economy going and the priorities focused on making sure President Trump, when he goes to hit the campaign trail in a couple of years, although I think it'll be much sooner than a couple of years,
probably,
that he will be able to go out there and have so many more accomplishments to herald.
And of those priorities, Smedley says the president's campaign promises will not be forgotten.
Since the president was a candidate, he put his eye on the ball of the economy and helping people in communities that have really been passed over and forgotten about. And so expect him to keep the focus squarely on the economic agenda in a local way, in an America First way. And he's not going to give that up for Nancy Pelosi or anyone. So that's going to be a fight that he's happy to have, I think.
And if that fight requires a government shutdown, Smedley says the president will not shy away from just that.
President Trump knows what he's doing. He's going to get them to push a little more and play ball.
Smedley also said that since the majority of the government has already been funded, this shutdown will not reflect the full 2013 shutdown we saw under the Obama administration, pointing to the fact that this potential government closure would also be during a time when congressmen and women want to be home for the holidays, a potential incentive to delay a decision. Gabrielle, Cuccia, One American News, Washington.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand